it and I have connected it to the system, and I've written this code in Python. What it does is it takes in three variables: temperature, humidity, and wind, and we can increase them using our keyboard. So I'll just demonstrate it here once. uh, so this is the Python application. When we run the Python application, you can see the all the variables are set to 0. So when I click on increase arrow button, we can basically increase or decrease it. So since we can see there is a threshold set inside the code, and when it hits a specific threshold, so different keys are used for different variables. So for example, temperature threshold is set to 60. So as soon as it hits 60, the code stops, and I'll check my email notification. So yeah, what it does is it sends me an email notification. Yeah, and these are the details about the current measures. Yeah, it's 60, 0, 100 and 43, exactly as we can see here. And all this. Hello, Omkar here, and this is the second part of my video actually. In this part, I'll be focusing mostly on these 3 points: using IoT services to for deploying the system using cloud server, and I'll be focusing on how IoT devices exchanging information with the database. So here we go. So this is how the system looks. This is how flow of data looks. So first of all, the Raspberry Pi. Uh, Suppose um, it detects temperature, humidity, pressure, and wind speed. So once it hits some specific threshold, uh, it uh, sends notification to the user using this flow. So what happens is, uh, in this code, uh, here it is. If the temperature, humidity, or the wind speed increases above specific threshold, what it does it sends an email notification to the user, and it does it using AWS Lambda services. So this is the Lambda service. So once this API is hit, what it does is this code is triggered, and it captures the JSON that we are sending through this code. So this JSON contains all the values of the real-time uh, temperature, humidity, pressure, and wind speed. So currently for pressure, I'm using a constant value, but these values will be sent in real time, and these will then be further sent to me, the user, as an email. So this is the rough body of the email. So I'm directly sending the uh, values. I haven't uh, edited the string. So this is one part. Once the threshold is hit, it tells the SNS to send the values to the user. Now another part is the S3 bucket. So what it the S3 bucket, I'm using it to set the threshold values. So there is this S3 bucket. Inside this S3 bucket, there is a JSON folder named threshold.json. Inside it, we have these values. So I'm using this JSON file to set the threshold so that I can change the threshold whenever I want. Suppose right now it is set to 50. So if I want to change it to 100, so I can just change this file right here. I can change the threshold values from any device I want to. So here it is. So what is happening in this code is I have joined my S3 bucket here and IoT bucket Omkar, and the threshold file is right here. And using this file, I'm getting in these values. So these values are then used to calculate the threshold. So that's how the threshold is being set using a remote device. And once the threshold is set, we can just uh, keep the flow going. And the third database that I'm using is the second database I'm using is AWS DynamoDB. This database called weather, what it is doing is it just uh, whenever an email is being triggered, or whenever the value is exceeding the threshold, it stores the values, the timestamp, and all these four variables, stores it in this database. So why I'm using this is, suppose in future I have to develop an application which shows real-time updates of the current weather. We can directly connect this DynamoDB to any application. For example, a Spring Boot, Java, a Django web-based application, an Android app, whatever it might be. We can directly use this cloud-based database so that it would be easy to develop the application, and then the user can view it directly. So there are two ways the user can kind of access the device, access the data. So I'll just quickly demonstrate. I'm using a virtual machine because it is easier to demonstrate here in my laptop. So here we go. Suppose if I run this. So right now I have set the values to 0. If I increase these values, I'm using the keyboard to do this, but in the actual device we have to use the sensors. Yeah, so once it hits 50, you can see there a request was sent, and I just pause this. Uh, yeah, and I received an email exactly at this time currently, and it shows the current values, and also inside this DynamoDB table we can see a new value has been added. Yeah, and it also shows these values. So that's how we can use these AWS cloud services to control our weather app, and also to retrieve data from the app so that we can remotely access the data using an application. So yeah, that's how it works. I'm currently, the application is in development phase, so I was planning to make a Django application, but I couldn't complete it. But in the future I'll definitely improve the overall project and include the application in it. So that was it. Thank you.